Hi folks, so I'm going to show you how to do the version of your type where you use transparency. So you can see over here I have a sample. Each one of these letters has not been cut out using the Pathfinder. They're complete shapes and they have different opacities, so you can see through some of these. So this is the opacity right here, or transparency, and so I can select a letter and I can change that opacity, and you can see that the color of the background is coming through. So what was a deep green, it becomes less saturated with the complement coming behind it. So you will pick your colors intentionally. So do you want to have everything sort of desaturated? Then you would use more complementary colors. If you want them to be less or more intense, closer to the hue, you would use analogous colors next to each other on the color wheel. So let me zoom out of here for a moment. So you see here I was working with the poster and I have these colors that I picked out. Now I am working with this, it's not a store window, it's a bodega here. It's a store. Sorry, I'm messing around with my computer here. So I have this color palette. So you will have had a color palette, but you may want to, at this point, you can still change your color palette. So I just copied these and I'm going to paste them. And I put a white box behind there. So just grabbing the box tool and moved it over. So then I can go and take this color, and instead of this one, I can grab my eyedropper and grab, so say I want more, well, these are more analogous. I'm going to try a different palette. So let me get a bright yellow. I'll click this one. Maybe I'm getting this softer pink. I'll grab this one. Maybe I'm getting this eggplant. That eggplant's way too dark. Let me get that's kind of nice. I kind of like that. Let me get more of a high intense pink here too. And I've got this brown is a neutral. Maybe I want another, maybe I want an orange color. Yeah, so these colors that I have here now are more analogous near each other on the color wheel. But this yellow, when I look at these are more muted. This yellow is really intense, and I do like these more muted colors, plus they came sort of naturally. I'm going to grab my eyedropper again, and I'm going to try to get not that warm. I still want to keep it a bright yellow, so I'm trying different areas. That looks a little better. Then if I'm not totally satisfied, I can open up my color palette. If it looks like this double arrow, you can expand it. And so maybe what I want to do is pull out a little of that magenta to make it a little more vibrant, a little less orangey. And maybe this pink here, maybe I want that to be a little bit more vibrant. So I'm making sure there's definitely no black in it. Maybe I'm going to pull out the cyan just a little. Maybe I'll pull it out all the way. So that looks a little more vibrant. So I like that. I'm going to try this. So I'm going to zip up here and I'm going to blow up my screen for you, which again is holding down the command key and the plus sign. So my letters here are all solid letters. They have not been chopped up with the Pathfinder tool. So I am going to make sure they're all outlined. So I click and drag over all of them to grab them. I go to Type, Create Outlines, and now I know they're all outlines. You can see this one's already got the transparency changed. I was playing with that before. So you can start by playing with the transparency, or you can start by putting in colors. Actually, I'm going to use this palette, so let me switch these. I'm going to move this out of the way, click these. I'm holding down the Shift key to select multiples at once. Okay, so now I can just take each letter, grab the eyedropper, fill it in. I can grab multiples at once. So if I want to grab the ampersand and this S and make them both this pink, maybe I grab the P, the L, the Q, and I make them orange. I can grab the T, the W, the B, and make them yellow. and then I can grab the R and the Y and make them maybe this deep red. So white is not a color in my palette here, so I need to put a background color in here. So I can use one of the colors that I already have. Sorry, my cat's sitting on the mouse pad. I'm going to move him over here. So I'm going to grab a box and drag that over here. I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to the back to put this behind. Now I can leave all of these the way they are and change the opacity of my background color. So I can do that, but I think I actually may want to play with the background being fairly intense. So maybe what I'm going to do is take this one and this one, and I'm just going to make them orange for right now. And I'm going to keep this red, not 59%, but maybe I'm going to make it 90%. And then I can start playing with the opacity of some of these letters. So I can grab different letters, change the opacity together. Again, if I click a letter, holding down the Shift key, I can select multiples at the same time. So you can see how this B looks so intense because it hasn't been played with. Now this R and this Y have not been altered yet, but they don't seem to stand out as much as that yellow did. So I've got a lot of orange in here, so I'm going to select these two letters and I'm going to grab the eyedropper. I'm going to make them pink and I'm going to play with the opacity of those. So now that I've got these letters in here, I'm going to move them around. I can still work on my composition and move them around. And so this does have an opacity. The Q does not have the opacity change. So maybe I change that. But what I want to point out is, so you see, just look at this area right here with the Y over the Q. I'm going to click on that Y and go to Arrange and bring to Front and see how that overlaps. I can do Command Z if I don't like that. I like being able to see that break up there a little bit more. Maybe with this orange here, maybe I want to increase the orange on the L. That's giving me some more play there. Now maybe I don't like this interaction here. Maybe I want to make that more defined, more prominent. So you can still always move your letters, and you want to do that because you have more information about what you're doing. I've got this blank spot here, but I do like the way that was starting to overlap. Maybe I turn this completely around this way so I can play with that overlap a little bit. Actually, I think I'm going to move the Q over. I think that's my problem. And move the Y over. Yeah, I kind of like that more. So again, you keep playing with it, seeing how you like it. You can move things around and you can play with that opacity and try like this B, for example. I'm going to bring this object, arrange, bring to the front. If you do things often enough, you can see that there are command keys to the right up here. So I can hit command and the bracket if I do this often enough, but it's two fingers that I need, so two hands that I need, so I tend to not do that. Did I bring it to the front? Object, arrange, bring to front. Oh yeah, I like what's happening there. Okay, so I'm going to say that I'm fine with this. You probably might have spent a little more time on it. So I have these boxes here that I put up here just to look at my composition framed in here, okay? So I'm going to put these boxes, bring them to arrange, bring to front, and I accidentally shifted it a little bit. So I'm going to move it over. This one isn't to front. Object, arrange, bring to front. I must have two layers here. No, why is that not working? Object, arrange, bring to front. There we go. So now I can see how this looks cropped in here. See if I like that. Maybe I want to shift things around a little bit to see how that cropping looks, play with it a little bit more. So I can keep doing this. I'm going to stop. So now the next part is you're going to have to work on your layout. So here I've got my image. If you do know how to make a clipping mask to crop this, you can do that. But I don't want to give you more information than you need. So just the way I made these boxes to cover this is fine. So I'm going to zip out of here so you can see my composition. And I'm just going to make these boxes a little bit smaller. And you will just so that they are just as big as they need to be. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a new document. And this document, I'm going to make it 11 wide by 17 tall. So its orientation is portrait. And I just want one artboard, and I'm going to say create. Okay, so now I've got this new page. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to take this composition. I'm dragging over everything, copying, bring it over here and paste. And I'm going to center it in my image here. You can visualize it. I don't want you to go crazy. So there, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to grab the colors that I use. So dragging over them, copy, bring over here and paste. And then lastly, I need my image. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste, and I want it to be a little smaller, so I can hold down the Shift key and place this. So this is what you want. You want your composition up at the top, you want your colors underneath it, and then you want your picture. And you're going to do this for both of your compositions, a new document for each one. I'm going to zoom in here. What we're going to do now is we're going to label each one of these colors. So I'm going to take the text tool. I'm going to click. I don't need to have that much text. I'm going to click and drag to make it smaller. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for the hex code. So what we're going to do, I'm going to click on this yellow. So here I can click from here. And when I click, I get this color picker. And there's a lot of information here. So it's telling me that it's 2% cyan, 23 magenta, 95, and 0. Now, with the color picker, it's giving me whole numbers. Your colors may have been, let me cancel this for a second. So if I had made this color, see the way their percentages, their decimal numbers. So when I use the color picker, it's going to give me whole numbers. So again, I'm going to double click here. Let me shut this. I've got this color here. I'm going to double click and I get the color picker. So it's giving me whole values. And part of the reason why it's doing that, because it's also giving me a hex code. And so if I had percentages, the hex codes just are a formula, a number for every different percentage that is not with, that's only with whole numbers, if that makes sense. So what I've spoken about in the other classes is we've got such a huge color spectrum, but the digital world is somewhat limited and the hex codes are somewhat limited, just the way a Pantone book is limited. It doesn't have every single color there is in the world. Anyway, so I'm going to take this hex code, I'm going to drag over it, Command C to copy it. I'm going to copy, and it's not letting, I have to say okay, sorry, I have to get rid of the box. And then I'm going to grab my text here, and I copied it so I can do Command V to paste that hex code, and I need to put in the pound sign. Okay, so that is something that the hex codes need. So I'm going to center it up here. I'm going to copy, paste, 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 paste. So I'm going to line all of these up centered in here in front of each one of these. And then I can also hold down the Shift key, grab all of them, and using the alignment tool, which shows up here, I can just make them all align evenly. There, okay? Now, so for each one of these colors, I'm going to click here, then I can double click on this to get that hex code, copy that hex code, and it's still not going to let me paste it, so I have to say okay. Then I'm going to get the text tool. I'm going to paste in here. I'm not going to cover the hex, the pound sign, and there I go with that. Oops, I accidentally pasted an extra one on here. So again, I am going to grab this brown, I'm going to double click, I'm going to copy that hex code, copy, say OK. I'm going to grab the text tool, I'm going to grab those letters, missed one, paste. Again, I'm going to grab the eyedropper, grab the red, double click on the red, I get the hex code there, I'm going to copy, say OK, grab my text tool, select that and paste, and then one more time I'm going to grab my eyedropper, grab the orange, double click, grab the hex code, copy, say OK, and I'm going to grab the text tool and paste. Okay, so I think I accidentally did that wrong. Let me grab this again. I don't think that F was supposed to be there. Paste. Okay, so again, when I click a color, so let me grab this color. What you see here, the H is the hue, this is a saturation, and this is the brightness of that color. So this particular color, the hue is this value, this is a saturation, and the brightness. So if I move this around, this is showing the new color, and it's showing the new formula in the CMYK, the RGB, and the hex code. So again, if I move this, watch all these numbers will change. See, they all change according to what I'm going for. So and then you can zip up here to get spectrum. So if I go to the reds, notice my magenta is higher. My hue, look at it's 3, 4. If I move this all the way over here, the hue is more intense. And so you can see that the percentages change. The saturation and the brightness get to a lower percentage. So there you see how that works. Okay, great. So here I'm going to zip out a little bit. So here you can see my layout. So I'm going to go and say File, Save As. I am going to make sure I'm saving it to my computer. I'm going to name it with the naming convention I gave you, which is Lily. This was window, or it's color, plus window, and I'm going to capitalize window so it stands out from the ad. Window, and then I'm going to make it a PDF. So down here where it says Illustrator, I go to PDF, and I save it as a PDF. Now, the reason why you definitely have to save it as a PDF is you have got a photograph in here. And if you email me an AI file, you don't save it as a PDF. If you save it as an AI, I am not going to link to this image. So I haven't talked about this because it's not so related to what we're doing for this project. But with Illustrator, every time you place a photograph in it, it needs to know where to find it. So all you have to do is File, Save As a PDF, and save it on, not as a cloud document, save it to your desktop so you know where it is, name it, and save. Okay? So now you're going to do this exact same process where you create the document. I would create the document, I would copy my image here, paste it, copy and paste all the colors, and place my photograph so that you are handing in two separate files that look like this. Okay? So hopefully you've learned a lot from this project. I like the way it's working with picking colors from your environment and really creating a harmonious palette. And so each of you will have a very different palette, but what I find is that everyone has an innate sense of color harmony. So just a digital picker, a digital thing doesn't do that, but you guys can do it because you've got an innate sense and you just can keep honing it. Great. Thank you so much.